It was in my 27th year that I first came upon this house. I was hiking alone in Alder Park Creek Forest. Rumor has had it that there was an old and abandoned village deep in the woods. The village, whose prosperous years ended some 100 years ago, when Shantok became the wool capital of the city world, and no one needed the wool from the town of Alder. Same thing happens to Sanico a few years ago later when people found wool cheaper elsewhere, but that is not in this story. That isn't my story. My story is about the first time I search for Alder, a place I plan to go again tomorrow. But before I go, I felt that I should write up my experience in case if I don't make it back. Like I said, it was my 27th year that I last ventured into the woods. I'm now 39 and hope that enough time has passed since I was last out there that I will now be safe. I hope. I'm in desperate need of what I found in there because my wife became ill. Only for her would I ever think of venturing off in those woods again. The only love I have for her. I'm scared. Oh, how scared I am. Even to write this down, I'm trembling. But I must go get this over as if the night was passing so quickly, and soon it shall time to go. It was a bright, sunshine day when I entered the woods, and it was feeling quite optimistic about my journey. I was using a map I found in my old book called Ghost Towns of Northwest. It mentioned the town Alder, but I actually never found Alder. I got lost and got off track, miles and miles away from the known civilization. I was worried that I would be lost and that I walked here for at least 6 miles past distance. I was supposed to be walking. It was getting near to the darkness when I came across something particular. All the way out there deep in the woods, there were no man would need to wander. I came across a particular freshly carved jack-o'-lantern. It was deformed and was taller than it was round, much like a human head but larger. It was oddly shaped and more bulbous on the left than the right, which made a single tooth smile look like grotesque rotten mouth of elderly man who had stuffed or suffered from a stroke. Inside I could see something shiny. My curiosity got a hold of me as I bent down to give the pumpkin a closer look. The first thing I noticed was that the eyes were unlike any eyes I've ever seen on a pumpkin. Each spot where the eye would be was made of 4 holes, giving the pumpkin an appearance of having 8 eyes. After examining the mouth and then the eyes, I looked upon whose nose and greater than consideration. Not only looking, but touching. The nose was normal when I noticed some movement behind the nose. Before I could react, I realized that it was too late. The pumpkin was a home to the nest of spiders that quickly ran up my arm. I ripped off of it with my coat and threw it out as far as I could, then started to task wiping off the remaining spiders from my arm. I stopped because I was stunned. I had glanced at the pumpkin and had seen the top of it was rising up then off. Was in such a state in fear that I just stood there for a while, and what must have been the queen spider came out. The spider had to squeeze out of the pumpkin as it was so big. I imagined black spiders the size of a baseball glove, a gloved orange slime from the pumpkin's guts, when the spider turned and looked right at me. I must have ran for 2 miles before I finally felt safe enough to stop, then only long enough to catch my breath. I headed in the direction the way I came, and then I started running. I figured 3 more hours of hiking, and I would head back to where I entered the woods. I had only walked about maybe 100 feet or more when the fog rolled into all around me. I would be a fool to try to find my way back through this fog, so I gave up on trying to make it out of the woods that night. I would wait till morning, then I walked out of the woods and tried to forget the image of the giant spider. I set up in my small tent and climbed inside right before I went to sleep. Remember thinking, God, that please don't let that spider find its way to me. I woke up in the middle of the night when I heard the sound of much like a door being slammed. I'm at close to the road. Am I that lost and nearly out of the woods? I put my tent back in my backpack and headed towards the noise. Luckily, the fog had lifted. For a moment at least, I started to think that maybe it was all in my head, until I saw a light in the distance. An orange light, then I could see to smell it. It was a fire. Oh my god, the woods are on fire. They must be. I am way too far out in the woods for it to be someone else out there. But of course, there was that horrible pumpkin, someone had carved it. I walked slowly into the direction of the fire, step by step. I listened until I got just outside of my clearing and the ablaze of the fire. The fire drew my attention for a while, and its heat felt good now on my coatless upper body. As I stood there warming up, I noticed the other queer things around. There was a chair made out of a log with back support made out of twigs and nailed to the log. Behind the big flames was of this bonfire, I could see a house. Well, a house of an overstatement. It was somewhere in between the shack and a house. I walked around the tree to get a closer, better look and view of the house. The house was old, extremely old. The agriculture on this and even one has never seen. The roof was completely flat, and the house had more windows than walls. Windows had fogged and even have cracked from age. Some of the cracks in the window were filled with dirt. The place gave me more of the creeps and was feeling dread swept over me. I was ready to leave the place when I saw more of the jack-o'-lanterns. Afraid of spiders, they could contain more giant black spiders. God, may I never sleep soundly again after such a slight. Instead of running, I found myself approaching the house, thinking that maybe the occupant could help me find my way out of the woods, or at least to try to provide shelter for the night so I wouldn't have to be worrying about giant spiders. Before knocking, I decided to peek through the window. Inside was as nicer as I would have imagined. It was full of old furnishing. It was not wavered as the outside of the house. An antique collector would be ecstatic to come across such a find. There was a beautiful old couch and chairs, both covered with velvet, and detailed carvings on the wood that looked like a solid oak table inside. But what really drew me in was the old truck that was covered in tanned leather, much like the color of human skin. It wasn't the same as craftsmanship or the other furnishing. The seams were big and black and all went all over the place, like if it was made from scraps of skin. I was about to walk into the door when I saw the inhabitant enter the room. The man looked as old as the truck. His skin just looked like a piece of just leathery. He had unkempt hair and had even longer beard. The right side of his face was slopped, like that pumpkin. He just walked over and opened the trunk inside was full of golds and silver coins. I stood there in awestruck until he turned to me and smiled, revealing one tooth and right eyes. I had never been so scared in my life. Not a moment later, when his extra 2 arms and 2 legs sprung out of his body, tearing apart his fake skin suit, revealing to be the giant ugly spider. I ran Olympic medal running as fast as I could out of the woods. When I finally got out of the woods, I was miles from my car. I never went back for that car, and I never went near those woods again. I hitchhiked about out of there and spent my next year drinking, trying to forget about the image. I know bigger men would have gone back for all the gold, but it wasn't worth losing my life. Or even just seeing that thing again was just enough as a deterrent. But my wife was sick, and about the operation is more than I can afford, so this is my only choice. Really, it's no choice. I love her more than myself. Hopefully I make it back. Hopefully this isn't the last sentence I ever wrote. And that, my little pretties, was the House Deep in the Woods, a creepypasta. My final thoughts on the story? I could definitely say it's actually a pretty good creepypasta for what this story really is. Now, I've actually first have never heard of this story until I actually listened to a narration by the Dark Salmonum. Yeah, Dark Salmonum, I believe. he wrote this he read this story, and I took a look at the story, and I thought it was pretty good for what this one really is. Like, I am not gonna lie, seeing that man just becoming like that spider thing, I mean, that's really creepy. I'm not denying that right now. That's really creepy, to be completely honest, because, well, I'm gonna sit here and say this now. I've seen a lot more creepier stuff, but what I just heard about this story, talking about, it's just, I can honestly see that it's pretty, pretty terrifying seeing this man, a spider person, well, spider monster take a form of this random man and transforms into a spider out of nowhere. So, yeah, it's pretty surprising. I'm not denying that one bit. Oh, pardon me, I'm a bit tired. But yeah, this is honestly still a pretty good story. I found the grammar to be good, as well as the sentence structuring, the storyline, basically everything else about this story just went out pretty good. I actually do find this story to be, enjoyable. I really found this story to be good. I like the concept. The grammar was good, as well as the sentence structuring, the storyline. Basically everything went out for what this is. It's pretty messed up, yes, but it was pretty good. Like, it's well written. The ending was perfect. I honestly really do like how this story went out. So, I would have to say to the author, I can't really find out who the original author of this story is. So, yeah, I'm gonna leave this as anonymous for now. Until if I ever find out who the original author of the story is, I'll be sure to, give him proper credit, or her proper credit. So, anyways, yeah. I actually really like that this story is based on the legend. Like the legend of, this one town or something. I have a feeling that maybe the man must have been this Shininko person or whoever it is, months ago, well, years ago, and when he died, I think he was maybe died of a spider bite. Maybe that's why there was spiders around the area of pumpkins and that. I think that might be the case, but yet again, I don't know, but that's just personally my guess, but you guys can maybe have your own guests in this, story, because, I like to hear what your thoughts are on this story in the comments below, because I like to hear what you guys think of this story. Yeah, I mean, this story was pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. I still found this one to be, very enjoyable, very well made in detail, and I honestly found this one to be, well, pretty good for what this one is. So, anyways, with that being the case, and with that being said, I'm gonna sit here and say this now. Like I'm gonna say, this is simply my own personal opinion, and if you happen to disagree with me, that's fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions regards to these creepypastas, and this is simply my own personal thoughts. My final rate of this story would have to be a 10 out of 10. Beautifully well written, as well as the good grammar and everything else. I do like the storyline. I found the concept of its own self to be flat out amazing. It's definitely worth to read, and it's pretty good that if there's like this place Elder, and if it exists somewhere, maybe, I don't know if this is based on the true story or something. Well, I know this is a creepypasta, but the legend before, we get to the pasta, like the backstory, I don't know if it's real or not, but you guys can maybe state your opinions in the comments below, maybe some theories, or if you have some answers as to, where, if this, is actually true, like the incident before, this story happens. Maybe you guys might have an idea as if it's, based on true story or not. But yeah, anyways, with that being said, yeah. What did you guys think about this story? Did you enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what we have done person to help make this story a lot better? Feel free to leave me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. And if you're brand new here to this channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload, so that way you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, please roll the outro, because I'm out.